the book, is organized by the different chapters of kind of issues they struggle with, but all of us struggle with, because like you just said, these wounds that we deal with usually originate from our teenage years, and we carry them into adulthood. So these chapters are like perfection, self-doubt, people-pleasing, shame, beauty, the things we're all still dealing with. To me, it's done a disservice. And if anything, it's created more reactivity, right? Like it's a cycle that feeds on itself. And I've worked with hundreds of girls now, thousands of hours of just that one-on-one time with them as an academic tutor and a mentor. And what I've learned is just the act of holding space for their feelings. And I know we've all been hearing the term holding space, and some might roll their eyes and so on. But what has happened is that people love to just come in quickly and advise and fix and slap positivity and tell the girl what the solution would be for their problem. And when I just listen and I'm like, yeah, that sucks, like and it's big, like it's negative feelings too. Like she's really grumpy and mad about something. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awful. I get why you're mad. Then what I see happen is she relaxes and is like, oh, thanks for just listening. Like no one understood me. Like she just feels understood by just the act of listening. And then I love to empower her agency and choice in this situation. I love to be like, well, what do you think the solution is here? Like, how would you like to handle it? And I do it in a real, truly judgment-free, agenda-free kind of tone. And that's when a girl has to be like, wait, what? She trusts me with this choice and these thoughts? And she has to look within herself and be like, wait, what do I think about this? How should I handle it? And it's a beautiful empowerment space.
Yeah. And it's like, I always ask people, well, what fills you with joy? What really makes you happy and fills you with joy? Because your own answers, answers emerge in the pause. So when you take a breath and once all that, it's always, oh, you're so dramatic, but why is that a negative thing? It's just your feelings and how you are.
I would say that I believe adults have big feelings too. We've just gotten really good at stuffing and repressing and containing, and they all come out some way or another in midlife crises.
It's like, why are we called a bitch? It's like girls are called bitches. And then, it's there's all that
societal structure that really judges women to show any type of emotion. Yeah, it's hard.
I saw you had a feelings wheel in the appendix. One is a feelings wheel. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. Because when working with the girls, a lot of research to support just naming a feeling helps you feel it and actually let it process through you.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a simple solution. And I have a pretty good vocabulary. And I still, honestly, when I was still just starting to experience my feelings for the first time, I was also sad, angry, sad, you just don't feel like
four basics. Yeah.
And the way the wheel works is the basics are in the center of the wheel, and then it spans out off of the different categories. And when you land, I remember the day I landed on disappointed. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, that's how I feel. And I didn't realize how powerful the emotion of disappointment is. It can be really gut-wrenching. And when I actually acknowledged that I felt disappointment, I could sit with it, could sit in the discomfort of it, but actually just process and then get it out of my system.
And it's healing.
Yes.
It's so healing. It's like, oh, name it and claim it. And it's an amazing thing. Okay. So when you go into you call it expanding conversations with teenage girls or any human beings, and you've got all these, and I said, it's Appendix 2. I printed it out, which I don't like to print very many things out, but I want to be able to refer to it. As a lawyer, I just try to keep everything paperless. But I loved to understand, what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about that? How do I support you with that? I love all the questions. Are there certain questions that are better than others? I wasn't raised with all this, but how does that make you feel? It doesn't seem to be the best question to ask. Sometimes I'm like, my daughter will correct me, and I don't mean to leave my son out, but this is about girls. So, but she'll be like, you did that so wrong. And I'll just be like, oh, how could I have said that better? Because she seems to know this so much better.
No, wait, that's a great follow-up, by the way. How could I have done it better then?
And that
actually respects her choice and opinion in that. That's a great thing to say,
she's always my best. She's like, well, you could have said it this way. I'll be like, oh, that's so good. She just was always like so good at these things since she was young. I always feel like she was my mother reincarnated. My mom died way before my kids were ever born. It's like she always acts like she's my mom, but she does seem to teach me these things.
Yeah.
So are there
Well,
certain questions?
a huge point of advice overall is phrase everything as a question. Not only again with teenage girls, but just the people in your life, because you'll be surprised how often we're like kind of say it as a statement, and everyone always takes that as like, well, you don't really know what's going on. Like it creates defense because it's not always accurate to your story. And so when you phrase it as a question, like, wait, how were you interpreting that? How were you looking? I mean, I do it with my husband all the time. And when he says something, I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't see it like that. We were legitimately just seeing it different ways. And then, so with a girl, you're asking what is kind of one of the better questions. I mean, there's a lot in there that are good, but honestly, the most basic is like, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think about that? And I like to say things because a girl likes to feel smart. The more you can affirm her that she's smart and that she can trust her thoughts about things is really empowering.
What's the hardest challenge that you've gone through, and how did you get through it?
Do you mean in the book writing process or life?
No. In your life. No. We're done that.
Oh man. Oh man. I mean, we all have challenges. There's a couple really coming to my brain. I'm wondering what can best serve the world right now and sharing it. But I share it in the book, and I won't get into like tons of details here, but I actually had pain with sex for most of my life, like for decades. And that was actually a huge reason why I started exploring this topic in general. Because as a teenager, a girl and a woman in her 20s, it was like, oh yeah, it's painful. People just like expected and normalized that it might be painful. And that's again, kind of back to that societal squashing we do of a girl's sexuality, that we don't permission her to have any idea of pleasure. Like, whereas boys totally in the media, are encouraged to pursue pleasure in that sphere. And so I really went on like a self-discovery journey of my own. That was truly one of the biggest challenges.
Wait, didn't any of your friends tell you it's not supposed to be painful?
Sure. And I was like,
I just am curious. Like, did you?
Yeah, but there was also enough of just like, like shrugging the shoulders. I mean, I'd go to doctors, oh my gosh, medical world would just be like, oh, you just need to have another glass of wine and relax. What? Like that was advice I got from doctors.
No.
Yeah. No, it's wild. Actual gynecologists aren't trained in sexual pain, like different types of sexual pain. And so there's a huge amount of research that still needs to be done around this. Of course, like, there's research about men's sexuality to Viagra, right? But there's not for women. And so it's just starting. I know a lot of the people who are part of this movement. And so to answer the question of the challenge, like on a personal level, it was something connected to my just identity and spirit too, right? Like to know that part of yourself, to own that part of yourself is a real exploration and challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's sad.
But look at we're on the other side of it now.
On the other side, so now you'll always be grateful.
Wait, hold on. There's a happy ending to this story. Yeah. I got it. I figured out. Like a lot of
I figured that. Yeah, and it probably helped you write the chapter.
Exactly. I wouldn't have been able to write this chapter had I not gone through it. And now my story can help others.
Yep, it's the hardest. It's what we get to help others with. And I had an episode with Dr. Jennifer Berman. That's what she does. She helps people through that. Yeah. So, So I love that.